I still remember the exact shade of gold that shimmered in the sunlight that afternoon. It was an old, worn wristwatch, its leather strap cracked with age, the glass scratched by years of use, and yet it carried a weight far heavier than its physical form. It had belonged to my late husband, Daniel. That watch had ticked through countless moments of our life together. From the first dinner we shared as a married couple to the last day I saw him alive. I had kept it tucked away in a small velvet box in the corner of my drawer, hidden both from sight and from memory. As if by hiding it, I could keep the ache of loss at bay. So when I walked into the living room that Sunday afternoon and saw Alex, my foster son, turning that watch carefully in his hands, my breath caught in my chest. He wasn't supposed to find it. He wasn't supposed to know about it. And yet, there he was, eyes wide with wonder, fingers gently tracing the scratched glass as though he could read the stories written into its surface. Alex had been with me for almost 2 years. He arrived when he was 16, all sharp edges and heavy silences, carrying the weight of a past that no teenager should ever have to endure. His mother had passed away when he was a child, and his father's struggles had made stability impossible. By the time he entered the foster system, Alex had learned to expect very little from life, and even less from people. When he was placed in my care, I wasn't sure if I could reach him. At first, we lived like strangers under one roof. He stayed in his room most of the time, headphones plugged in, walls built high. I didn't push, but I tried. Small dinners cooked, gentle conversations offered, car rides filled with music. When words wouldn't come, slowly, little by little, he began to let me in. That's why the sight of him holding Daniel's watch struck me so deeply. It wasn't just that the watch belonged to someone I had loved and lost. It was the way Alex looked at it. There was a reverence in his eyes, a longing almost, as though he recognized not just an object but the meaning behind it. "Where did you find that?" My voice came out softer than I intended, almost a whisper. Alex startled, quickly lowering the watch as if he had been caught with something forbidden. I'm sorry," he stammered. "I didn't mean to. It was in the drawer when I was looking for batteries. I'll put it back." But instead of taking it from him, I sat down beside him on the couch. For a moment, silence stretched between us, filled only by the faint ticking of the second hand still moving, still alive, even after all these years. "That was Daniel's," I finally said. "My husband? He wore it every day until he was gone." Alex's eyes softened. "It's beautiful," he murmured. Then, after a pause, he added, "It looks like it's been through a lot, like him." Something in my heart shifted then. I had expected Alex to apologize again or to retreat into the safety of silence. But instead, he connected the object to a person he never met, yet somehow understood. And in that moment, I realized that grief and longing weren't so different from the feelings of abandonment Alex had carried for years. Loss was loss, no matter the shape it took. I told him about Daniel, about how he was kind and patient, how he loved working in the garden, how he always hummed when he cooked. Alex listened with a focus I hadn't seen from him before, almost as if he were piecing together a puzzle he didn't know he needed. After that day, the watch didn't go back into the drawer. Instead, it found a new place on the mantle where both of us could see it. And strangely enough, it became a bridge between us. Whenever Alex had a tough day at school, or when his anger threatened to spill over, I'd catch him standing in front of the watch, eyes fixed on its steady ticking, grounding himself in its rhythm. One evening, months later, he finally spoke of his own father. His voice was rough, uneven, but his words carried a vulnerability I hadn't heard before. He used to have a watch too. Not fancy, just a plain black one. But when things got bad, he pawned it. Said he'd buy it back one day, but he never did. I think that's when I stopped believing in promises. My chest tightened. Here was this boy, this young man carrying so many broken promises, yet still drawn to the symbol of one man's loyalty and love. Not all promises are broken, Alex, I told him gently. Sometimes, they just take a different shape. He looked at me then, eyes shimmering in a way that told me he wanted to believe, even if doubt still lingered. And from that night onward, we shared more stories, more quiet evenings, sitting together with the past laid out between us, healing us both in ways we hadn't expected. As the seasons passed, our bond grew stronger. Alex began to smile more, laugh more. He started joining me in the garden, just like Daniel once had. And it felt like the pieces of two separate lives were somehow being woven together into something whole. One particularly stormy night, when the wind howled against the windows and the lights flickered, Alex came to me with the watch in his hand. "You should keep it safe," he said. But when he tried to give it to me, I shook my head. "No," I told him. It's safe with you. Daniel would have wanted it that way. His eyes widened, and for the first time, I saw tears slip silently down his cheeks. Why me? He whispered. Because you remind me of him, I said softly. Not in how you look, but in how you care. Daniel believed in protecting the people he loved, even if it meant putting himself in danger. And you, Alex, you've been standing between me and loneliness ever since you walked into this house. The watch ticked steadily in his hand, marking not just the passage of time, but the start of something new. In that moment, Alex wasn't just my foster son. He was family, not by blood, but by choice, by love, by the invisible threads that tie hearts together even when the world tries to tear them apart. Years have passed since that day, but I can still see him clearly in my memory, the boy who once carried silence like armor, now grown into a man who wears his heart with quiet strength. And on his wrist, still ticking, still steady, is Daniel's watch. It no longer feels like a relic of loss. Instead, it feels like a promise kept, a bridge built, a love that never truly ended but simply transformed. I never expected to see my foster son holding his father's watch that day, but I'm glad I did, because in that moment, I realized that sometimes love doesn't arrive the way we imagine. Sometimes it sneaks into our lives through shared grief, through gentle understanding, through the simple act of standing beside one another in the face of pain. And that is a love story worth telling.